Hello everyone, HUTV Productions here, and today we're going to be doing a bit of a different video. This one is going to be about computers themselves and not really, a game. So a lot of people, like to play games and they don't really know how to build a computer, or, maybe they don't care. But I feel like there are people that if they knew, they would kind of care, and it's a very simple sort of thing. So today we're just going to be looking at basic computer parts, how to put them in, how difficult it is to build one, and then next video we're going to be actually picking out the parts online. So right now you're just going to see what they look like. I have some in this bin right here, and we can see, so a visual aid is pretty helpful. So first off we're going to get, it's a bit side heavy there, the hard drive and all. We're going to be getting this motherboard. This is what a motherboard will look like. When you install it in your case, it's going to go this. So you're going to have, this is the, right there, graphics card slot. PCI slots are what they're called. And these long ones are what you are going to probably plug your graphics card in. If you have any kind of modern day one, slot's going to look like that. It's very easy to install. If you have a case, obviously it'd be easier. But to get it in, all you're going to have to do is put it so the heatsink is facing downward, and this slot with the plugins are going to be on the outside towards where all the other ports are, and you're just going to slide and pop it in, and you're going to hear a click. So that click is going to be this lock right on the side, right down in here. And so if you want to take it out, you have to click that again, take it out, and it'll come right out. Not right out, but easily enough. And you're almost always going to want to install this at the topmost slot if you can. Now, next thing we're going to take a look at is RAM. So I don't have any kind of new RAM. This is DDR1 and a DDR2 stick. So what those mean are there are different types of RAM. Each number increases usually means it's newer, and they only work in one type of motherboard. So if your motherboard supports DDR1, it doesn't support any of the rest. DDR2 doesn't support 1 or 3 and 4, 4 being the newest. So you have to know what type it is, and the motherboard will usually say it. I'll have a picture to one saying it. They'll say DDR4 and the speeds, and we'll get into the speeds next episode. So RAM slots are going to look like this. Typically you'll have one color slot, another color slot, same color, same color. That's how it'll work. Kind of like a little striped pattern. Some motherboards only have 2 slots. It's not that big of a deal. So if you want 16 gigabytes, you could have 4, but it's not recommended. I would only say 2. So you would have an 8 gigabyte stick in this slot, an 8 gigabyte stick in this slot. You're going to want them mirrored, this and this, or this and this. So the point of that is just because 2 of the slots, typically the black ones, are going to be faster than the blue ones, although it doesn't make that big of a difference, so don't really worry about it. Next is what people will say the heart of the computer is. That's the CPU, which is going to look like a chip like this. And depending which brand you get, Intel is going to have a flat chip, while AMD is going to have these little spikes on it, as you can see. You don't want to bend any of those. Be very careful. This is the PC you have to be most careful with. Graphics cards, you can kind of manhandle them. You don't want to pick up this. This is a dead motherboard, so it doesn't matter, but you don't want to pick it up like I'm picking it up. When you install it, you want to just take it like this with your hands around the edges, where you're not touching any components, and just kind of put it in and then screw it in. Usually you're going to have the case sideways, so you'll have it laying down. It'll be much easier. And there'll be lots of pictures and instructions. So when you want to install one on this type of board, this is an Intel one, funnily enough, I don't have the matching pair. We're just going to go ahead and undo this little click right here, as you can see. We're going to lift it up. It's going to lift this up for us. You pop it right in. It'll have these little notches so you know which way to put it in. And then you're going to put it in there, secure it, go back around. Oh, yeah, there we go. It has to go under the screw. And now it's supported by underneath this screw. Obviously, I haven't done this in a bit, but don't worry. It might take a few tries. It's not the easiest thing. Jeez. Alright, be careful. There are spiny bits all on the back of this. So you really got to be careful where you're holding it. So it can easily dig into your hands. So we're going to put this back down. And now we're going to go for the hard drive. This is the one that was weighing it all down. All hard drives probably aren't going to look the same. Doesn't really matter. A good size would be a terabyte. So we'll get into that next episode. But you are going to want a SATA cable. So here, we're going to go get that real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got our SATA cable right here. This is actually an unopened one. And as long as they are, if you need to order one, normally they'll come with one, but in case yours doesn't or you need an extra, make sure they're going to be 6 gigabits per second or GPBS. Alright, so we'll take this one right out. And here you can see what one looks like. Oh, it's a bit bent. So we have one end and another end. This will be the one that you're going to plug into the hard drive with, and this is what's going to go into the motherboard, so we'll do that right now. So, right down here, we have our SATA ports, and it'll tell us right on it 6 gigabits per second. And that's going to be the white ones at the bottom. Obviously, this one's missing one of the reasons why it's broken. And this white one right here is still intact, so we're going to go ahead and we're just going to pop it in. It should have a little click as well, so it stays in. There we go, not going to come out. And we're going to take this one, and we're going to take our hard drive. Our hard drive also has pins in the back, and the small one off to the side is going to be the data. And you can just go right ahead, and that's going to slide in as well, and it'll do a click. There we go. Simple as that. And now, last big component should have a hard. Yeah, there it is. Hard drive. We have power supply. So this is a very low-end power supply. Next episode will tell you which one you probably should get for the build. And they'll have all these different connectors, and it looks very complicated, but it's actually very simple. So this one is going to go directly into the motherboard. So we're going to go ahead and pick this up. And it's very simple not to screw this up because the pins are shaped differently. You can get that a bit closer. Some of them are different shapes, some of them squares, some of them are different types of polygons. And if I put it in this way, this is the correct way, but if I try to put it in the wrong way, it won't even slide in. You can't, so don't worry about screwing that up. And we're going to make sure this snaps in. Like I said, normally this would be mounted on a case. Much easier to get in than holding it. But you should hear a bit of a click when it goes in. There we go. Well, this one seems to not. This is a very bad power supply, keep that in mind. Alright, next one we're going to have to do is another plug that you need for this. It's important. Now this power supply doesn't really have one of these, as like I said, bad power supply a few times. But this motherboard requires a 4 or an 8-pin connector, and it'll list it on the power supply. And typically all good ones will have one. This one only has a 4-pin one, but we'll go ahead and just pop that in just for the sake of it. Pretend that's an 8-pin. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get a SATA connector, if this one has. Yes, it does. Alright, so this is a SATA power one. So as we just saw, we plugged in, there was one big one that wasn't being used. You're not going to use any other ones on this drive, don't even worry about it. So this one, don't worry about it. This is the big one that we need. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get that right in. If we can just, there we go. There, pops right in. Easy. Now it's hooked up. Data and power. So we can go ahead and unhook this. It's not important anymore. Same thing with the CD player or DVD. They work the same way. Graphics cards will very often have ports on the top, and I'll have a picture as well. And those ports are going to be for extra power because this bottom part can provide up to, I think it's around 100 watts. I'm not exactly sure, but that's not enough for a lot of graphics cards. So they'll have their own dedicated extra power ports just for that. So you have to make sure you have enough for the power on it. And you can go ahead and detach all of this. RAM doesn't have any power ports. Don't even worry about RAM consuming any kind of power. It's not a big deal. And the CPU is that port at the top that we just plugged in. That's directly for the CPU. It needs that 8-pin connector. And this is to power all the other things on the board. Things like your USB ports, display, anything over here. All of these are called voltage regulation modules, or VRMs, and they're also important for things like overclocking. That's why getting a motherboard that supports it's going to be different from one that doesn't support it. And that's pretty much all there is to it, to building a computer. It doesn't take long at all. After your first one, like I've done, it'll only take you about 15 to maybe 10 minutes to make one. Your first time's a little bit harder because you'll have to mount a cooler on here. I have a cooler down here as well. So this is for a much older computer, but they'll look the same. Some of them are a lot bigger than others, but all you have to do is there'll be a plate on the back and some holes. So you can see here's where the CPU is. It's going to be 4 holes here, 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 and here. And you're just going to have to mount a plate back there, and then you'll mount it right on top. It's not too easy the first time around. That was probably the hardest part for me, but after that it's very easy. And if you're just going to be using the stock one that Intel gives you, or AMD, those are very easy to install. All you have to do is push 4 pins in, and you're done. It'll also come with thermal paste on it, which is something that you'll have to apply yourself if you're getting your own heatsink for overclocking, and we'll get into that next episode. But I hope you enjoyed this more informative one, and let me know about feedback in the comments, so if you want to see just more gameplay or anything more like this informative type of stuff. Now, have a good one, you guys. See ya.